2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beam? Too early, maybe later, you could show me things.
Hey guys, this is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Thank you for once again coming back to view my channel. If you happen to be new here, thank you so much for deciding to stop in and to learn just a little bit more about West African, biblical, and American history and culture. For those of you that are returning, welcome home, family. How have you guys been? So I believe we were talking about the Ashanti of West Africa and tying in facts as well as their traditions to begin to prove archaeologically, linguistics, anthropology, their migrations, oral traditions, scriptures, customs, food, so on and so forth, to prove that these people are indeed the Israelites of the Bible, specifically the tribe of Gad as well as Akan, which would make them a mixture of both sides of the kingdom. And I'm going to tell you exactly how that began to happen. When you begin to look into the different captivities of the Israelites of the Bible, specifically the Assyrian captivity, when they were pushed over into Assyria, we have to remember that not only did they go into West Africa and into other parts of North and East Africa, they also went into a place called Sephardim, which is literally Spain. And they began to become displaced by the Assyrians. And so when you look over today, and those people whom call themselves Samaritans, majority of those people are not what we would identify as Israelites. They were Assyrians who displaced, I should say, the Israelites, picked up on their worship of Yod Hey Wave alongside their idols on today. If you don't believe it, go ahead and look into the book of Isaiah as well as Google search everything that I'm telling you. So when you begin to think about the Spanish Inquisition, when the Spanish Inquisition began to happen, you had Israelites as well as Moors that was pushed out of Spain. And where did they go? Back into parts of Africa, whether it was Mauritania, Mali, Ghana. Some of them also began to sail over here in 1492 on the boat with Christopher Columbus. And we begin to look even into his history and who was on the boat with him. It stated that Christopher Columbus was writing in Hebrew. And we know for a fact that he had someone on the boat with him to translate and begin to talk to the Native Americans as well. It is stated that Christopher Columbus was a converso himself, meaning that he was a Sephardic Jew who was pretending or possibly truly converted to Catholicism. And this is going to be very important. On that boat with him, you had more Sephardic Jews, more French Jews. We're specifically talking about Sephardic Jews, and you had some Moranos, some Morenos. When you begin to talk to a Hispanic person, which is literally a Sephardic Jew, because when you begin to look into Ladino, Ladino, this is literally the Spanish form of Hebrew. I hope you guys are taking notes for this short video that I'm giving you because it's a lot of information in it. When you begin to look, it was Israelites and Moors on that boat, as well as some Gentiles who would have been indentured servants, wars of prisoners who came over here. So you have the same people going into two different land masses. It's very important to know, like I was saying, when you're talking to a Hispanic person and you're of darker complexion, what do they refer to you as? Moreno. This is the same term that was used for the Moors and the Israelites in Spain. You actually have some correlation when Italians began to call us mule. It was not originally a derogatory term. This is how they began to identify the Moors and the Israelites. And we began to look into the bloodline of the Sicilians. They're Phoenician, they're Arab, they're Israelite mixture. We'll get back there one day. So why is it important that we know all of this about the Sephardic Jews? Because when they came over here and when they went into the Caribbean, you guys, I'm not feeling my best. I have to cough. excuse me, when you begin to look into when they went into the Caribbeans, specifically Jamaica, you will see the Maroons of Jamaica. And it's this wonderful woman by the name of Nana, Mami Maroon. And we begin to look at Nana and Mami, it will actually begin to take you back to Mesopotamia. And it just means queen mother, mother goddess. If you look into Inanna, I have so many videos on the worship of the mother goddess. When you look at Nana or Nani, it means grandfather, grandmother in the Bantu language. And when you look into Ima, Mama of Hebrew, it means the same thing. When you look at Nanny Marone, guess what? She was the originator of guerrilla warfare. These people, our people, were called hillbillies because they took their guerrilla warfare and they went and hid out in the hills and they began to fight and wage war against the enemies. Now, I know some of you have been watching for a while, so you should already know that I'm going to tell you that some of these Jamaicans identify as Igbo and they have a Creole saying. Can't remember it off the top of my head, so I'm not even going to play with it. That says, "We are Igbo." Some of them identify specifically as Ashanti or as a Khan, excuse me. And Mami Maroon, she was specifically a Khan, which will give us a Khan from the tribe of Judah. Why is this so important? When you begin to look at the Rastafarians today, who some of them keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God of Joku, Okike, Ambiamba, or Yod-Heh-Wah-Veh, Elohim, our power, they began to talk about the importance of marijuana, right? And we know that this thing has been demonized. But when you look into its origins, you will see that the name Kush is for a reason because it originated in the Indus Kush Valley. So when you begin to look into the Indus Kush Valley, you will see that the Bantu was there as well as the Ethiopian Darwinians. So this was always a place that was inhabited by Hamitic and Semitic people. When you look into the botany of the marijuana plant, you will not only see that not only is it an herb, but it's a plant, it's a fruit and flower. And this is something that has been hidden from us from a very, very long time, scientifically speaking. Did you know that hemp was actually the form of paper, but because it was not making enough money for the United States, it began to be replaced by the paper that we use on today? They could not find a way to tax our natural resources. And this is what they have done. When we begin to look at guerrilla warfare and the usage of war tactics, do you not realize that this is why they so readily allowed blacks and Native Americans to fight for and or against the British crown or with America during these wars between the 13 colonies? Were you aware of the fact that in the 18th and the 17th century that this is when these gun laws began to come into play? And the gun laws were specifically created for blacks, Native Americans, and Catholics. Now, what did I just tell you? That a lot of people who called themselves Catholics were truly Sephardic Jews and Moors. So, Hispanic brothers and sisters, a lot of your ancestors, I'm going to say all of them, are Catholics because they were forced to be. This was not their religion. This were not their culture. This is what happened with the Spanish Inquisition. So when you begin to look into the correlation of the gun laws and the criminalization of marijuana and the people group who have suffered the most from our people being locked up and imprisoned because of the marijuana usage, then you'll begin to deduce and begin to logically surmise that it has always been a conspiracy against the people of the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When we begin to realize that at the end of the day, as they are working to decriminalize this in 10 states, 21 states has allowed for recreational use, and 30 states has allowed for medicinal use, there are people out there who are fighting so that our brothers and our sisters can be able to come home, and realizing that yes, some people have begun to use this at a young age. When we begin to look into the fact that the black community suffers from PTSD, mental and emotional illnesses, this is why the usage of marijuana is so high, because we have always leaned into natural aspects for our healing, as well as prayer and worship. And when we are taken far away from our culture or called criminals for doing something that's innate on the inside of us, it's always more than meets the eye. This is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Thank you for once again coming back to view my channel.